Most people think investing means buying stocks and waiting for them to grow. But the world of wealth is much bigger, and often the real opportunities lie outside the stock market. Alternative assets, like crypto, gold, and even art, are where the brave go when they're looking for balance, protection, and potential. But they're not magic. Every reward they offer comes with risk, volatility, and uncertainty. Still, those who understand how they work and where they fit can unlock growth when others are standing still. Because diversification isn't just a buzzword, it's how you protect yourself from a system that can fail. In a world where inflation rises, currencies fall, and markets fluctuate, smart investors don't just hope, they hedge. And that's where alternative assets come in, not as trends, but as tools of strategy. They don't replace traditional investing, they complete it. Each carries a unique rhythm of risk and reward, and mastering them separates the emotional from the intelligent. So let's break down the three most powerful alternative assets, and what you really need to know before you touch them. Because wealth isn't built by following the crowd. It's built by understanding what the crowd ignored. The richest minds in history didn't play safe, they played smart. They looked beyond what everyone else trusted and found value where few dared to look. That's the true art of investing, not chasing what shines, but recognizing what lasts. And if you can learn to see the unseen, you'll find opportunity hiding in plain sight. The question is, are you ready to think like an investor? Or remain a spectator in a game that never waits? Because the next decade won't reward the biggest, it'll reward the boldest. And boldness begins with knowledge. 1. Crypto, the revolution and the roller coaster. Crypto isn't just an asset, it's a new financial ecosystem. It represents freedom from banks, decentralization, and digital ownership. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and thousands of other tokens promise innovation, but behind every promise is a storm of volatility. When it works, crypto creates millionaires. When it crashes, it humbles them. It's the ultimate test of conviction versus speculation. The biggest strength of crypto is its independence. It's not tied to governments or inflation the same way traditional currencies are, but that also makes it vulnerable to sentiment, regulation, and hype. If you invest in crypto, do it with clarity, not greed. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Treat it as your high-risk, high-reward slice, not your core wealth. Focus on projects with real utility, strong technology, and long-term vision, not quick flips or meme tokens. Crypto teaches one brutal truth. You don't control the market, you only control your behavior. The volatility will test your patience and your ego, but those who understand cycles and survive them often come out stronger, wiser, and wealthier. Crypto rewards courage, but only when it's backed by education, not emotion. Because behind every digital coin is a mirror, reflecting your own greed or growth. The market doesn't care about emotions, it respects discipline. Those who panic sell, fund the patience of those who hold steady. In crypto, the battlefield isn't charts, it's psychology. And when you master emotion, volatility becomes your advantage, not your enemy. Remember, innovation always begins with chaos, and crypto is the frontier of that chaos. History favors the early and the educated, not the reckless and the rushed. So be early, be aware, and above all, be prepared. 2. Gold, the ancient shield of wealth. Long before stocks, banks, or even paper money, there was gold. It's not an investment, it's a store of trust. Empires rise and fall, currencies come and go, but gold endures. Why? Because gold represents permanence in a world built on promises. It doesn't default, it doesn't vanish, and it doesn't rely on Wi-Fi. That's why investors call it a safe haven, especially when inflation soars or markets panic. But here's the truth most people forget. Gold doesn't grow, it preserves. It doesn't pay dividends, it doesn't multiply like stocks. It protects purchasing power. Think of it as your financial armor. It won't win battles for you, but it will keep you alive in a crash. A smart portfolio doesn't go all in on gold, and it balances with it. Typically, 5 to 10% of your net worth in precious metals acts as an insurance policy against chaos. Because when the world doubts everything, gold becomes the language of trust. It doesn't promise returns, as it promises resilience. It's the quiet strength behind loud markets. And while everyone else chases hype, gold waits, patiently, timelessly, doing what it's always done, hold value when nothing else can. Gold is history's truth, silent, solid, and sovereign. It survived wars, recessions, and revolutions. Because it doesn't depend on belief, it creates it. While paper burns and pixels vanish, gold remains, untouched by algorithms or politics. It's the ultimate reminder that real value never needs marketing. When uncertainty rises, gold whispers security in every investor's ear. Owning it isn't about profit, It's about peace, because peace of mind is the rarest form of wealth there is. And in a noisy world, sometimes silence is the smartest investment. 3. Art, beauty that becomes an asset. At first glance, art seems emotional, not financial. But behind every masterpiece hangs a powerful truth. Art is one of the world's oldest stores of value. From Da Vinci to digital NFTs, people have been trading creativity like currency for centuries. Art has something few assets do: scarcity, legacy, and emotional connection. A rare painting or limited collection doesn't just hold value, it tells a story. And that story attracts wealth, exclusivity, and long-term appreciation. But art is not for quick profits. It's illiquid, subjective, and dependent on reputation and rarity. To invest in art wisely, you need patience, research, and often a taste. The rise of fractional art investing platforms now allows regular investors to own shares of high-value works, making the once elite world of art more accessible. Art is a hedge against inflation and market chaos because it's detached from financial systems. It's wealth disguised as culture. It grows in silence, not speculation. And in a world that's becoming more digital and disposable, timeless beauty still holds its price. Because trends fade, but true art endures. Art reminds investors that wealth isn't just numbers, nor its meaning. Every piece captures emotion, history, and human spirit, things money alone can't create. And that's why it holds value even when currencies collapse. Art turns expression into equity, creativity into capital. It gives you ownership not just of value, but of culture. And as technology grows colder, human stories grow more precious. The investor who understands art doesn't chase returns. They collect legacies, because some assets appreciate in numbers, but art appreciates in soul. 4. The real strategy: balance and behavior. The smartest investors don't choose one asset. They choose perspective. Each of these, crypto, gold, and art, plays a different role in your portfolio. Crypto is growth and innovation. Gold is safety and preservation. Art is scarcity and prestige. Your job is to balance them based on your goals, risk tolerance, and timeline. Diversification doesn't mean owning everything, but it means understanding why you own each thing. Because real risk isn't volatility, it's ignorance. And real reward doesn't come from chasing what's hot. It comes from building what lasts. When you stop gambling and start strategizing, you stop reacting and start leading. Wealth isn't built in one move. It's built through harmony between boldness and protection. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. The greatest investors don't predict, they prepare. They build portfolios that earn in every season, not just in sunshine. They know when to attack and when to defend, and they let time, not luck, prove them right. Strategy is what turns chaos into opportunity, and balance is what turns success into sustainability. Because the goal isn't just to get rich, it's to stay rich, and that comes only when discipline becomes your default. In a world full of uncertainty, alternative assets give you control, not through guarantees, but through options. Crypto gives you growth, gold gives you safety, art gives you timelessness. Together they form a triangle of balance and innovation, protection, and elegance. So, before you invest, ask yourself, do I want excitement, security, or legacy? Because knowing your goal is the first step to choosing the right asset. Start small, stay educated, and diversify with intention, not emotion. Because the moment you understand risk, you control reward. Because the world of wealth isn't one road, it's a map. And those who explore it wisely never get lost. Because in the end, every investor faces two choices: follow fear or follow freedom. Freedom comes from knowledge, from diversification, from daring to see beyond the ordinary. You don't need millions to start, you need clarity to begin. Every dollar invested with intention is a vote for your future. So explore, learn, and evolve. Because wealth favors the informed. And when you build your portfolio with purpose, not pressure, your money starts to serve you. That's not just investing, that's independence. And independence is the truest form of wealth there is. If this opened your eyes to how real investors think, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes stocks are the only game in town.